these guys they're well heeled. They got all kinds of money. Kind of like my guest, Gene Pastula. Hey, Gene, how you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Good to see you, brother.
Not as well as your other guests, obviously.
I don't think Jason has his own plane. Do you have
I
a
just
plane?
have to upgrade to business.
Oh yeah, you have enough miles to do
I
that.
have miles galore.
Yeah, I do too, and it's one of the great things in life when you've had to travel as much as we travel, and you end up with all these freebies. It's the way I was telling people the other day. It's the way Jeannie and I got to go for our New Year's Eve to Times Square because the hotel was $1,800 for New Year's Eve night, and I got it for free.
Nothing.
Yeah, it's great. We flew first
Well, you
class.
put a lot of miles on to get that.
I got a lot of miles. There's no doubt about that. Anyway, good to have you in our brand new studios, our new digs. We're certainly appreciative of you being here. I don't know if you heard me earlier. I think you did because you were sitting right there, pitching you to our guests and our viewers and listeners all around the country, who about this whole concept of linked benefits and transferring risk and longevity and all that. And let's start with that if we can, because I know that you have lectured all over this country. That's how you got all those miles. You're a well sought after lecturer on the subject of protecting people against the risk of longevity or outliving their savings. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's something that I've kind of followed ever since I was a young man. When I first got into the insurance business, on one of the first week that I was actually showing up and starting my training program and everything, I met a gentleman who was 81 years old at the time, who had just come back from his third trip around the world, and he was one of the insurance agents in the office who took me aside, took me to lunch, and just talked about what it was all about, and it just hit me that this is something that I should be paying attention to, because when you think about the insurance industry, and I'm talking about life insurance and annuities and that type of thing, you think about what they're doing. They're either taking care of families where the breadwinner died before he won all the bread that he was supposed to, or, and in most cases now, what we're doing is, in my practice, is taking care of the survivors and the individuals who need to face the potential of living too long, that longevity thing that you were talking about earlier. Because that's what insurance companies do. And in all the business programs and publications and all the rest of the stuff that you read, and the financial news and all the rest, it separates out the insurance from stocks and bonds and real estate investments and all the other opportunities. It separates them out as something that you either need or you don't need. And I submit that most everybody who's planning on retiring needs to plan on how long they're going to live, or better said, plan on not knowing how long they're going to live, and setting up a portfolio that's going to take care of them through the risks that they face during that period of time. Most importantly, the possibility of living way past your assets, and starting out with a nice nest egg that ends up being not sufficient to provide you with a lifestyle that you've been looking forward to. And then, of course, the other is the idea of becoming ill, which so many of us, first of all of us will. It's hard to get from healthy to dead without getting really sick first.
Well, most of us do, and I guess that's part of the issue, because you focus on that and making sure that there's an adequate amount of liquidity in the so-called bank to take care of any of those illnesses or diseases or something that might happen.
Yeah, we think in terms of, in fact, many of the listeners, because I've been doing this now with you for several months, and I've been talking to a lot of your listeners who are kind of amazed that all of a sudden they're thinking in terms of not so much that there is something that might happen, but probably not to them, And so do they buy insurance for it or don't they? Rather than understanding that the process of living and ultimately dying involves, for most people, the need to have someone taking care of them for a period of time. And sometimes that period of time is several years. And now it's a matter of, they don't, unless it's your family, they don't do it for free. And in fact, if it turns out to be your family, it ends up costing them in terms of lost wages or,
their own health, because I've learned from your pal and mine, Lynn Rowe, that the caregiver many times has a shorter life expectancy than the person they're giving the care.
Not only from the standpoint of the physical, stress of doing it, but the mental stress of being responsible, of perhaps having to quit their job or not being able to work full time anymore. I mean, it's a very complex thing. And the bottom line is that in planning for a retirement, you have to take into consideration those risks of either outliving your money or not having enough income, not having enough extra income at the time when all of a sudden you find that you're going to need assistance with what we call activities of daily living.
Well, we're going to get to that in just a bit. My guest, Gene Pastula, CFP from SafeMoneyMonitor.com. Can you explain what you do at Safe Money Monitor? What does that mean?
The idea is that we are focused on the safe, predictable assets in your portfolio. And obviously in our case, the most predictable and the safest emanate from insurance companies. Life insurance policies that are structured to guarantee a legacy, so that when you're investing, you can invest for your own purpose of providing lifetime income, as opposed to worrying about how much money you're going to have left over. The insurance industry can basically take care of that for you. Annuities that are designed to help you with that longevity issue and make sure, these are all strategies and products that the insurance companies offer that are safe, and they do what they're supposed to do. They're predictable.
Must monitor them.
And we pay attention because
that's the Safe Money Monitor.
That's right, and it's changing constantly.
Oh, I'll bet it is.
Yes.
Gene Pastula, certified financial planner, SafeMoneyMonitor.com. Now, insurance has become more mainstream over the last few years.
At least in my office.
Well, it has in a lot of offices, and I think a lot of that, Gene, has to do with the fact that, number one, interest rates are dismal. They're very, very low. So people aren't making the kind of money on safe investments that they used to. So insurance companies have come up with creative solutions for that. And more individuals are realizing the benefits of risk transference, how you take a risk and you transfer it to somebody else so that you don't have to worry about it. Therefore, you have the ability to invest your money the way you want to have it invested. So when we come back from the break, I want you to talk about that, all right?
Sure.
Transferring risk from your wallet, to an insurance company. And then I want you to explain to everybody why it's not such a bad thing that insurance companies and guys like you are not the big bad wolf, the bad guys. All right? Gene Pastula, my pal for going on 40 years here. Certified financial planner, SafeMoneyMonitor.com, 800-809-6783 is his number. Don't you go away. Back with Gino right after this. Welcome back, folks. The Ray program, 844-RAY-SHOW. If you happen to have a question for Gene Pastula, certified financial planner and an expert when it comes to risk transference. In retirement planning, and financial planning, and insurance planning, we always talk about those risks that you can self-insure and risks that you don't want to self-insure. Obviously, if you wanted to self-insure your home in the event it burns down or there's a massive earthquake. When you think of the cost to replace it versus the smaller cost of the premium, most of us would choose to transfer that risk to the insurance company. But many of us may choose to have a higher deductible, say for health insurance, and take on some of that risk ourselves. So Gene Pastula, there are instances where you would in fact self-insure, correct?
Certainly, if you're in a situation where you can't qualify for for the insurance to lay that off on the company, it's interesting to me that there are an awful lot of people just automatically reject the idea of doing just what you said, passing this off to the insurance company. Now, in my world, I mean, houses and cars are a different thing. You know, they may or may not burn, or they may or may not crash. In my world,
I know where you're going.
All right, we are going to die. I mean, that's not a risk. The only risk to that is the unknown of when, and if it happens at a very inopportune time. In the case of older people who are primarily they're the largest, I think, segment of, your listeners, our viewers, and what have you. Trust me, folks. You're not going to make it out of here alive. So it's just a matter of how long. It's not a risk. It's a matter of how you basically prepare for that financially. The idea of long-term care, I hear this all the time. Well, I can self-insure. Well, yeah, you can, but why? Now, if you cannot afford to pay an insurance company to lay off and take on the risk, how might you afford to actually pay the bills when that time comes?
It's an interesting point, because this is where I think so many people are fooled. They believe actually that the government will take care of them.
Only if they're totally poor.
So you have to be indigent in order to qualify for the Medicaid system, where the government provides care for you. You have to spend all of your assets down to like $2,000. That's it. And then you can qualify for government assistance. Now, I can't speak to the level of assistance because I don't really have anybody that I know personally that's gone through government assistance, because since I bought my long-term care insurance policies several years ago, I've been encouraging everybody I know to partake, because in the grand scheme of things, one might think it's expensive, but it's not nearly as bad as one might think. And you've got a way to make it, like, can I say this, almost free?
Well, in a sense, yeah. It's what we've done is to clearly what you alluded to earlier about, and what I did about paying for insurance, is still a viable strategy, and one that a lot of people will embrace and use very effectively. But we came with, a number of years ago, a couple decades ago actually, with an approach that has been a favorite of financial advisors and people who help clients manage their portfolios, and for a lot of your listeners and viewers that see the sense in this. We basically said, you have money in your portfolio that you're investing, and some of it is safe and some and liquid for emergencies, and other of it's designed to grow and in the markets and other investments. What if you could take a portion of that money that is basically the safe, the emergency type funds, and reallocate it into an investment that will expand in value by 3 to 5 times if you need care? You want to do your left pocket, right pocket, or you want me to do it?
I'm happy. I'm happy to do it. I do it every week.
I know.
But what I love about this concept is, and maybe I should do it a little differently. Maybe I'd say you could go to the XYZ bank and put money in the XYZ bank and get paid zero squat nothing today, or you can go to Gene's bank and get paid zero squat nothing today. The difference is, in Gene's bank, if something happens to you, like you get hit by a bus, then Gene's bank will pay your heirs twice what you actually deposited. So you walk into Gene's bank with 100 grand, you know you're worth 200,000 on the day you croak. In the ABC bank, you're worth 100 grand plus 0.0001% interest, which will take you 100 years to get the 200,000 bucks. So if you die, you don't win, but your heirs walk away with something more than what you started with. And I think to your point, Gene, you know exactly what that number is. You just don't know when it's going to pay off, but you know exactly what that number is. But where your program becomes even more interesting to me is about 2/3 of us, 70% of 65-year-olds, will experience one spouse or the other needing some form of home health care, nursing home care, or whatever. I know, I study this stuff. And I'm thinking about that. I'm going, wait a minute. If you got like a 0.3% chance that your house is going to burn down, you have a 100% chance of dying and a 70% chance of needing the money before you die, I like your bank better. How's that?
Excellent. Couldn't have done it better, which is why I let you do it. But that's really what it is. What we've done is we've taken a life insurance policy that is, it's almost a crime to call it insurance, because particularly when a person's buying it at 50 and 60 years old, knowing that they're going to have it till they die, it's not a matter of insuring, it's a matter of setting up an asset that'll be worth what you know it will be at the outset by how you purchase it. It's just a matter of when you die that it becomes payable. The difference is that we said, but what if we could set it up so that you don't have to die first? That you simply have to have it in place, and if you need care in a nursing home, assisted living facility, in your own home, for whatever purposes, then those bills can be paid, or some part of it, depending on how much you've allocated to this strategy. Those bills can be paid by drawing down the life insurance benefit. But we didn't stop there. We said, okay, the life insurance benefit, as in your example, is worth twice what they put in. But what happens if we are unfortunate enough to be that 15% that happen to need care for 3, 4, 5 years? And the life insurance benefit will last maybe 2 years. What happens after that? We have a provision in the contract that says if you use up all the life insurance, now the insurance company will start putting in their own money in addition to that. And the leverage here is 3.5 to 5 times what the amount of money would be. So $100,000 now makes $400,000 for long-term care.
It's an amazing product. And when we come back from the break, I will explain, well, maybe I will, maybe Gene will explain. I might give it a shot. I will explain how you can do this at virtually no real cost. Stick around. Good thing. Such a good thing. I'll tell you one thing, this is a good thing. Gene Pastula talking to us about one of the best things that I've seen in the financial services industry in years. Now, what if I told you, folks, what if I gave you this option? Everybody needs an emergency fund, we all know that. 6 months, a year's worth of your income, whatever the number is. Let's just say it's 50 or 100,000 bucks. You have this emergency fund, it's earning, 0.5%, 1/4% in the bank right now. And all you have to do is take that emergency fund to a different bank. You'll still earn the same 1/4% or somewhere in that ballpark. But if something happens to you and you die, that 100,000 turns into 200,000. And if you don't die, but you need care, whether it be home health care, assisted living care, nursing home care, it turns into 400,000 or 500,000, 6,000, 8,000 bucks a month for as long as you need it. And what if 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now you say, you know what? That Ray Lucia, he's full of baloney, which many people have said, by the way. I want to get all my money back. And you got 100% guaranteed return of your principal back from some major A-rated insurance company that you know is going to be around. How does that sound to you? I don't know. To me, it sounds like exactly what Gene Pastula has been presenting to us over the months, right?
We, we designed this thing. I mean, we started working on it in 1987, and it was launched in 88, and we have been improving it and marketing it and presenting it ever since. And literally hundreds of millions of dollars, now billions of dollars have gone into this. And for 25 years it has worked. I mean, we've been watching the thing work the whole time. And one of the things that we did was we said, look, at some point in time, what the biggest problem that we have with individuals, because everybody says, this is a no-brainer. I mean, why wouldn't everybody do this? And then a lot of times they don't. And it's not because there's anything wrong with it. It's that they have a difficult time pulling the trigger. And if you're listening and you're watching this and you're nodding right now, because if you think back of the number of times over the years where you've been presented with an investment opportunity or something that you just thought was the greatest thing, but you never got around to writing the check.
That's true.
You know, and now what we have is individuals who are in the same boat with this, and they never get around to writing the check. And I just had one just a couple of weeks ago, where now it was time. The couple, the husband and wife, were each going to put in a significant amount of money, and we were to talk on Monday. And on Monday, when I called him, her husband had a heart attack on Saturday.
Geez, yeah.
That wasn't a serious one. He was, he's
but that doesn't
fine.
affect his insurability.
He's done, yeah. Well, he's done at least for a year, and hopefully, that it wasn't all that serious that that they can't get something. But the point is that there's absolutely no financial advantage to waiting or to delaying this or to putting it off.
And that's because the principal is guaranteed. Is that
the
what
principal's
you're saying?
well, and so one of the reasons is obviously we built this thing with a money back guarantee. Now, the money back guarantee will typically last for about 6 months to give you a chance to change your mind or whatever, and then depending on the contract with the different carriers. Used to be immediately, that was it. But interest rates are so low, and the thing is tight now, and everybody's tightening up. So now it's like after 2 or 3 years, instead of getting 100% back during that first few years, that if you needed the money, you could get 90% or 94, 96. But after a couple years, then it's 100% or more.
So if I wrote you a check today for $100,000, you would insure me for $200,000 for death benefit purposes. You'd insure me for $500,000 for disability or what you call long-term care benefits, and I could still get my hands on 90% of that money if an opportunity came along. Because you know me, I'm always looking for opportunities. I'd still keep the coverage in force because I could borrow that money out, tax-free, and all these benefits, by the way.
Yeah, it would be modified slightly when you start doing that. But yes,
okay.
In other words, the money didn't go anywhere when you made that transaction. That's the idea, was to keep it on the balance sheet.
But I could pay it back. I mean, if I borrowed it out temporarily because I had a real estate investment I wanted to make, I could basically pay it back. And it's like I never took it out in the first place.
Had that happen 2 years ago with a personal client. Within 3 months, she called me and said, Gene, we need to get our hands on as much money as we can because we have the opportunity to buy the lot next door to our house, and they wanted to build a family compound. Anyway, so we borrowed out a significant amount of the money, about 80% of it, and they did the deal. And over the last, it's been about 2.5 years now, so they've been in chunks repaying that and build it back up. So they kept the coverage, the benefits and all, because what you do is you commit the insurance company to providing a certain level of benefits. But you're not committed to leaving the money there.
Yeah, we call that a unilateral contract in the business. It's a unilateral contract.
Yeah.
So the insurance company's on the hook to provide you the benefits, but you're not on the hook to pay them.
Yeah, as opposed to when you buy your auto insurance or your homeowners or even the conventional long-term care, you write that check, it's gone.
Right.
All right. In this approach, when you write that check, it's simply moving into another depository that will appear on your balance sheet, and you know that there are at least a minimum benefits that are going to be received as long as you keep that contract in force.
But even if you don't keep it in force, you know you're getting your money back.
Correct.
So the worst that could happen, I mean, I'm getting 1/4% on my money market fund of $100,000. Yeah. So in 4 years, I'd get back $101,000 instead of maybe $100,000.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So what we've done is we've created a contract and a strategy that as far as we can tell has no downside. You know, the only thing that happens is for some reason people just resist the idea that they want to engage an insurance company.
It's because they hate insurance companies.
I know, and I don't know why, especially with this.
You know, I'll tell you why. Because I read every publication that there is. Well, I don't probably read every publication, but you know what I'm saying. I'm online, I'm reading all this stuff all the time. And there are pundits out there that just hate insurance companies. They think that you guys are just ripping them off. And it must be like your grandfather's '88 Oldsmobile or something. You know how that commercial, this isn't your grandfather's Oldsmobile. This isn't your grandfather's insurance policy either. Because these are priced to be able to provide a benefit. And it's the law of large numbers. It's not like insurance companies are printing money, because they couldn't. They couldn't be making an enormous profit off this and give you a complete liquidity guarantee after 2 years. I don't see how they could do that.
No. It's math, you know, and people come up to me when I do public presentations, and they'll come up to me and this is really too good to be true. How do they do it? And I said, well, it's magic, you know, but it's not. It's all mathematics and statistics that have been built up over decades and decades and decades for mortality cost and morbidity and all the rest. So, you know, but it has to be a combination where everybody wins. You can't have an insurance company losing money on every deal, because then when your turn comes around, it just may not be there. So they have to be obviously financially solid and all the rest. And these things have been created and fine-tuned over the last 25 years to do just that. And we only use the best insurance companies, the highly rated insurance companies that are going to be around for a long time.
How many insurance companies actually provide this
Well,
product?
in some fashion, almost all of them are starting to, of a type now. But the ones that are really serious about it and the quality that we're talking about here, there's a handful, you know, that are doing some version of it. And you know, we were saying earlier, what do you do when you safe money monitor? You know, well, one of the things that we do is we pay attention to how these companies are making changes and alterations to their plans to make sure that their numbers are working and that they're charging the right amount for it and that they're giving the appropriate benefits for the money. And so that changes from time to time.
Okay, so I want to see what it looks like for me. So I just simply go to Safe Money Monitor, fill out some little form, and you get back to me?
Yeah, if you have a contact us on Safe Money Monitor and just, you know, put in some basic information, particularly your contact information, phone number and email. And if you have a particular message or request that we can do, otherwise either way we'll get back with you, and then we can talk through it, because the idea that it isn't a one size fits all, at least not in our world. I mean, we want to make sure that you get the best deal going. So yeah, contact us at my email is at safemoneymonitor.com.
Safemoneymonitor.com.
Go there.
Hey, take a look at it and see what the numbers will do for you. Safemoneymonitor.com, 800-809-6783. Now don't go away.